What's up, family? Welcome to Ask the Mods, where today I'm going to challenge you to stop playing and start pushing. My name is Ayize Ma'at, and I normally do these videos with my lovely and incredible wife, Iana Ma'at, but today I'm flying solo. I'm giving her the night off. And I wanted to share with you all something that I think would be beneficial to your relationship. About 10 years ago, my wife and I, I believe it was at Sandy Point Beach with our oldest son. And this was the first time that he had ever gone to the beach. And so I'm carrying him to the beach. And my wife, she's putting the chairs down. I have him in my arms, walking him, holding him. And then I attempt to actually sit him down in the sand. Now my son, he was about 1, 2 at that time. And he absolutely freaked out when his toes touched the sand. And so I was like, come on now, baby. You ain't got to be afraid of the sand. It's okay. So I'm picking up the sand, throwing it on his feet, rubbing my feet through the sand, rubbing my hands through the sand, and letting him know that you ain't got to be afraid of the sand. It's okay. It's not going anywhere. Again, I attempted to put him down on the sand again. And as soon as his toes touched the sand, he started crying. He would retract his feet. He would just bring them back up and just be crying and bawling and, tears coming out and just like, mad, angry. That I would even like, how dare you put me down on the sand? And so again, I reached down, picked the sand up, ran it through my fingers, put it on his legs, put it on his feet, allowed him to touch it, and then I tried to sit him down one more time in the sand. His toes touched the sand, and he just freaked out. My son went bananas. He freaked out. And in doing that, what I realized is that my son, he had grown used to and familiar with his definition of stability. He was afraid of the instability, the unsolid ground of the sand. The instability that he had experienced when his toes touched the sand, his feet sinking into the sand, that wasn't comforting to him. He wasn't used to it. It was unfamiliar. He didn't feel secure. And so he wanted me to pick him back up because he felt safe when he was in my arms. Again, he was used to walking on the ground, but when it came to the sand, because of the instability, he was unsure. He was uncomfortable, and he needed that reassurance from me. And so he held on tight and wouldn't let me go. I share that story with you all because in our relationships, we've said this before, we gravitate towards the applause. We're always looking for secure attachments. We want to feel stable. We want to feel some sense of security. We want to be reassured. We want to be told, I love you. And those are things that you shouldn't take for granted. You shouldn't take those things lightly. But what I'll also say is this. In order to experience the true rewards of being in relationship, you've got to take a risk. You've got to be willing to allow your toes to touch the sand and be unstable for a second. It's not always certainty when you're engaging in a relationship because you're dealing with somebody else. You're not dealing with just you, you're dealing with somebody else. So you've got to be willing to experience the instability, experience the uncertainty, and know that as long as you keep on moving, as long as you keep on pressing through, you'll eventually get to the other side. But it requires a commitment from both people in order to make that thing work. You see, just recently we were engaged in a relationship coaching session with a couple, and the husband had some things he wanted to share, the wife, she had some things that she wanted to share. But existing between the two of them was an invisible wall, and that wall was built on fear. Fear was existing between the two of them. And so they were immobilized by fear, and as a result, that was preventing authenticity from existing inside of their relationship. Fear is a motherfucker, and it definitely will paralyze you. But just as fear has the capacity to paralyze you, it also has the capacity to propel you to new heights as long as you're willing to confront it. And so we created the safe space, the safe environment for the couple to actually explore the relationship dynamics and the fear that was existing between them. And in that safe space, what they realized was that they had never created the safe space for themselves to be able to actually explore what it was that was bothering them. Neither one of them had ever said that it's okay for you to share. It's okay for you to come to me. It's okay for you to be open. It's okay for you to be vulnerable. They were each in this relationship and they each had their guards up and were in this defensive posture the entire time because they were trying to protect themselves. So just as my son clung to me when I put him down in the sand, you or your spouse are probably clinging to their own sense of self, which is preventing them or preventing you from coming outside of your box and engaging in true and authentic relationship. You say you want it. You say you want to be in a relationship, but the question is, what are you willing to do to actually experience it? My son had to sit down in the sand. Eventually, he got to a point to where he grew comfortable with the sand. He's playing in the sand. He's rolling around in the sand. He's having fun in the sand. But it wasn't until he actually was willing to confront that fear that he overcame that obstacle. And so I'm challenging each and every single one of you all out there. You've got some sand in your life that you need to step on. You got some fears that you need to confront. And it's not until you confront those fears, that invisible wall that's existing between you and your spouse, until you have the courage to speak up, until you have the courage to ask for what it is that you want, until you have the courage to say, I'm sorry, until you have the courage to say, I love you, that you'll really be able to experience the type of relationship that you want. As always, stop playing and start pushing.